Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. I want to talk about Trump's 8-point plan to go after the Mexican drug cartels as part of his comprehensive plan to deal with the border. And I'm really struck, just like I did a video on Trump's 10-point plan to go after the deep state. I felt like he has good advisors this time, and they really know what they're dealing with. And so his 10-point plan to go after the deep state was remarkable in its insight and its plans to deal with the deep state. And I find the same thing true with Trump's 8-point plan to go after the Mexican drug cartels. And I have a lot of Mexican friends, and they told me that when Vicente Fox, a huge change in the Mexican political landscape, took power years ago, that things would be different. And at that time, there was a comprehensive security agreement between Mexico and the United States, including the involvement of the U.S. military. And so there seemed to be a deeper understanding of seriousness to go after the drug cartels. But my Mexican friends told me that nothing was going to change and that nothing would change. And as it turns out, they were correct, because with the ushering in of a brand new government that promised to go after the drug cartels over the last 10 or 20 years, we've seen the problem continue. Of course, part of the problem is that huge swaths of the Mexican political system, and certainly the military and the police, have been co-opted by the cartels and are in collusion with it. And so these issues continue. And of course, in our own time, we see a lot of the drug cartels cashing in on the transfer of migrants through South America and Mexico across the U.S. border. So they're part of that, as well as, of course, the incredible influx of fentanyl and other drugs by the cartels into the United States. And it's further compounded by the fact that most of the weapons that the Mexican drug cartels use came from America. And a lot of them, these weapons go in there through all kinds of complicated channels, including botched operations by the United States government, like we saw with Fast and Furious under Obama. But a lot of it, too, is gun dealers all along the southern border that find a very lucrative business in supplying weapons for the Mexican drug cartels. But let's get into this 8-point plan by Trump to go after the drug cartels. Of course, the first one, number one, which is part of his comprehensive plan, is to secure the border. And the second one is, we start getting more dramatic. The second point is a naval embargo. And of course, a lot of the drug cartels and Mexican drug cartels not only use land routes, but they also use sea routes. And so even if there was any restriction along the border, the Mexican drug cartels can still operate moving north by water. So that's very insightful. And then number three is something that's already been going on, but apparently Trump wants to up the ante, and that's joint military operations. And I think the U.S. military has been working somewhat with the Mexican government, but this is a total new approach with joint Mexican and American military operations against the drug cartels, and that'll help go around a lot of the collusion. And point number four is to designate Mexican drug cartels as international terrorist organizations. And that's a good move, because it will release a lot of military strategies that couldn't be used before, because once they recategorize the Mexican drug cartels as international terrorist organizations, a whole different level of military operations can be used against the drug cartels. Number five is cut them off from the global financial system. Once again, that's very insightful and pretty dramatic, and one of the areas that we really haven't seen any curtailing of the problem, because we have most of the major banks on Wall Street laundering money for Mexican drug cartels. It's been a really great business for them, and it's continued over the last couple decades, even with the supposed U.S. and Mexican operations against drug cartels. So to get serious about cutting off the ability for Mexican drug cartels to launder their money through giant Wall Street banks is huge, and he's not going to make a lot of friends doing that. Number six is work with countries to expose corruption. And that goes back to what I said originally. Part of the heart of the problem is the collusion with elements in the Mexican government, the Mexican military, and the Mexican police force who work with and for the Mexican drug cartels. So you're going to have a lot of problems if you try to address this issue and don't address one of the core issues that's made the war on Mexican drug cartels so difficult in the first place. And that's the fact that there's just rampant corruption. And we see this in third world countries all over the world, so this is nothing new. Number seven is to impose the death penalty on members of Mexican drug cartels. And that really ups the game. Once again, I think that's a very insightful and brilliant strategy, is to make more accountability and cost for their operatives working in the United States, and then members of the cartels working in Mexico as well. Just like Trump wants to have the death penalty for migrants who kill U.S. policemen and perpetrate heinous crimes against American citizens. So that could definitely be a great way to curtail some of the problems and up the ante and put a higher cost on these kind of operations. And as Trump put it, show no mercy, unquote. As we've often heard over the years, if you're going to fight against these kind of people, you ultimately have to use their kind of tactics. And certainly Mexican drug cartels show no mercy, and the brutality of what they do with people who impede their operations is stunning. And so the United States, if it wants to go after Mexican drug cartels, they really do have to show no mercy and go toe-to-toe with the brutality of the Mexican drug cartels. And then the last one, number eight, is something we see a lot more in the world now, and that's economic warfare. In this case, seize all cartel assets. And once again, this is very insightful and a huge common sense approach to going after the Mexican drug cartels, because it's possible to trace where their assets are. And as I mentioned earlier, their financial assets going through American banks and money laundering through Wall Street banks. If they start seizing that money and start seizing property, it's not that hard to designate which properties and assets belong to Mexican drug cartels, to start seizing their cars and their boats and their yachts and their houses and all their assets that would go a long way. So I'm pretty impressed with this plan, and I did a video probably 10 years ago about the war going on in Mexico already, the war on the other side of the U.S. border, because this confrontation with Mexican drug cartels has been going on for decades and decades, and one can easily classify it as a war because it involves both the Mexican and U.S. militaries, and on both sides involves a lot of technology and a lot of sophisticated weaponry, and it truly is a war. So it'll be interesting. Trump's moving very fast since he's got into office. I wouldn't be surprised to see this on the plate in short order. He's already securing the border, so step one is already being delivered. But once again, I go back to the fact that I think this is a very insightful plan. He's obviously got good advisors. They've totally identified what the problems are and what the possible solutions are, and it's a good plan. So we'll have to keep our eyes open for this. Certainly, it will inflame the situation in the short term, so we could see a lot of dramatic violence before things settle down and these strategies start taking effect. But definitely a move in the right direction. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too?